and it's coming over the farmer agitation. Today, the matter came up in the Supreme Court whether the farmers could go ahead with a tractor rally or not. The Supreme Court has left that to the police to decide. But what has erupted is politics over the summons sent by the National Investigation Agency to 40 people, including Punjabi actor Deep Sidhu, farmer leader Baldev Singh, and a number of transporters, accusing them of being linked to Khalistanis. The opposition and the farmer unions are saying that the centre is using the NIA to try and discredit the entire movement of the farm protests. Take a look and then we'll come to our political face-off.
A new twist to the protests against the new farm laws. The National Investigation Agency is expanding the probe into foreign funding and alleged Khalistani link of some of the activists involved in the agitation. The NIA, acting on an FIR filed in December last year, has summoned 40 people, including actor-activist Deep Sidhu, farmer leader Baldev Sirsa, and 38 others. The activists are calling the summons a government plot to weaken their fight.
ਸਾਡੇ ਤਾਂ ਸਿਧਾਂਤ ਹੀ ਦਸਵੰਧ ਕੱਢਣ ਦਾ ਉਹ ਆਪਦਾ ਦਸਵੰਧ ਕੱਢ ਕੇ ਲੰਗਰ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਪੈਸੇ ਭੇਜਦੇ ਆ ਬਾਹਰ ਦੀ ਫੰਡਿੰਗ ਹੋਗੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਜਾਬਤੇ 'ਚ ਬੈਠੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਜਾਬਤੇ 'ਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਪਹੁੰਚਾਇਆ ਹੋਵੇ ਕੋਈ ਜਾਨ ਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਮਾਲ ਦਾ ਕਿਸੇ ਢੰਗ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਪਹੁੰਚਾਇਆ ਹੋਵੇ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਨੀਵੇਂ ਥਾਂ ਭਾਲਿਓ.
The farmers are accusing the government of trying to arm twist them.
NIA को संविधान के दायरे में रहकर काम करना चाहिए. NIA संविधान के दायरे से बाहर काम कर रहा है, ये ठीक नहीं है. अगर उन्होंने ये हरकत ठीक नहीं की तो हमें न्यायालय जाना पड़ेगा.
अपीयर होंगे NIA के सामने?
अपीयर क्यों होंगे? अपीयर नहीं होंगे, न्यायालय जाएंगे.
The summons have sparked a big political face-off as well.
They had 4 parrots. IT, ED, NCB and CBI. Now they have roped in the fifth parrot, which is NIA. Just to suppress this Andolan, I think the government has taken it too personally.
किसानों के प्रति, किसानों के सम्मान के प्रति, किसानों की समृद्धि के प्रति ये सरकार पूरी तरह कमिटेड है, कमिटेड रहेगी. उसके लिए किसी के प्रमाण पत्र की जरूरत नहीं है.
The NIA summons come after the centre told the Supreme Court that suspected Khalistani elements have infiltrated the farm stir. Farmers claim the Khalistani link is being drawn to discredit their agitation. The charges and counter-charges have further vitiated the atmosphere ahead of the next round of talks between the government and farmers. With Kamaljeet Sandhu in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
So is the Modi government trying to discredit the farm protests by bringing in the NIA into this entire issue of the farmers? Is there really any proof of a supposed Khalistan link? Just some of the questions we'll raise on our face-off. Ajoy Kumar, Congress's spokesperson and former IPS officer, and Nupur Sharma, the BJP spokesperson, joins us. Appreciate your joining us. Nupur Sharma, the government on the one side is negotiating with farm leaders and the farmer unions. On the other hand, the National Investigating Agency has summoned around 40 persons to be examined as witnesses in a fresh case registered against the Sikhs for Justice, a group that advocates pro-Khalistani activities, and many of these farmer leaders are claiming that they have nothing to do with Khalistan, but they are yet being called for investigation or interrogation by the NIA. How do you explain this? On one side, negotiations going on the other side, the NIA being used.
Well, good evening, Rajdeep, and to the other panelists and to your viewers. Well, can you actually shy away from the fact that only yesterday, Congress's own farm leader happens to be the joint coordinator of AICC Kisan Congress, Gursimran Singh Mann, has submitted before the cops and has actually gone on record to give a statement that the farm protest has been infested by Khalistanis. So much so, on December 23rd, 2 members of SFJ were arrested for giving him death threats, and also Shiv Sena leader. In fact, Mr. Gursimran has been provided by Captain Amrinder Singh, no less, with a pilot car and also 9 PSOs. So I do not know why all of a sudden Congress has decided to doubt this, because at the same time, these very farm protests were also marred by the presence of one Diljit Dosanjh, who their Congress member of parliament from Lok Sabha, Mr. Ravinder Bittu, happened to actually call a Khalistani and time and again requested Captain Amrinder Singh, the CM of Punjab, to register FIRs against him. You can also not forget that there have been elements in the farmers' protests, demanding release of Sharjil Imam, Umar Khalid, people who have nothing to do with farm protests or farm bills. So I really want to know today that how come there are questions being raised? Because I do remember on the 12th of January, one of the submissions put before the Honorable Chief Justice and seconded by the AG of the country was also, the argument was put first by Senior Advocate Mr. Harish Salve, who said that there have been reports of funding that SFJ has been organizing, which is, by the way, a banned organization, that they have actually managed funding and they are getting it within this country via some NGO links.
Let me just take that to Ajay Kumar, because Ajay Kumar, Captain Amrinder Singh has responded by saying, I strongly condemn the issuance of NIA notices to various farmers and their supporters in the midst of this anti-farm law agitation. Do our farmers look like secessionists and terrorists? On the other hand, you're hearing the BJP spokesperson claiming that the NIA is acting against the Sikhs for justice because they say that there are direct links with funding from abroad.
So, Rajdeep, first question is, if there was links to these people, so let's look, basic common sense is out of the window as far as this government is concerned. For the simple reason being, now Sikh for justice, if they are involved in the Khalistani activity and they're in touch with these 40 people the NIA gave notice, is it that these people got in touch with them during the farmers' agitation? Till the farmers' agitation happened, none of these 40 people got these. So that means the Sikhs for Justice decided during farmers' agitation that, okay, by the way, now is the time to get in touch with them. Second, the Khalsa Aid also has got notice. The Khalsa Aid were goody boys when they were helping the people in Gujarat, when they were helping the flood-affected victims in Kerala. And all of a sudden, because they are in this farmers' agitation, they have become suspect and Khalistanis. The third issue is, this government has repeatedly shown its absolute incompetence even in fudging records. And I'll give you a very interesting example. The government and Supreme Court said we are consulting the Farmers Association, etc., etc., etc. And in Anjali Bhardwaj's RTI, they showed consultation which happened 20 years back. Not in the past 2 years till they brought the law. Same thing with this Khalistan affidavit they filed. Now that they filed in the Supreme Court, they obviously need to create a story. The fourth and despicable part, and I think Captain Amrinder Singh has correctly said, that now you are going to label the farmers of India and the people of Haryana and farmers from Western UP and rest of India as anti-national. This is a standard operating procedure. The government of India is not the nation first. And if you speak against the government, you have every right to speak. The BJP has this ugly concept that speaking against the government is anti-national. Then they could have spoken against the Congress. So that is the fifth part. The last part is, the bar of evidence with this government is so ridiculously low. You've seen it, whether it is in the drug, WhatsApp messages. What happened to Sushant Singh Rajput? Nothing happened. So they will create a sensation for 4 days, 5 days. Look, the bar of evidence in this government is so ridiculous. It's shameful that you can even call these guys as investigative agencies.
Okay.
My question, I will finish off Rajdeep with one thing. Did these 40 people you gave notice on WhatsApp, which is again a joke, did these people you gave notice, were they suddenly after farmers' agitation at Khalistani links? Because it is too good to be true, right? That they all develop links only when they are agitating against the government of India.
Okay, you made your point. Let me take precisely that point to you, Nupur, because take the example of Punjabi actor Deep Sidhu, who has been issued a notice. He is the same person, and I was there when he was campaigning for the BJP Sunny Deol in the Gurdaspur Lok Sabha election. At that stage, Deep Sidhu was an actor supporting your candidate in Gurdaspur. Now he's seen as a Khalistani. I want to understand, the question is, are you simply looking to create a narrative, to create some kind of a story around specific individuals, somehow to discredit the entire farmers' movement?
Well, Rajdeep, I'll take this point by point. First and foremost, when the investigative agencies find when the SFJ decided to actually get in touch with the farmers' protest or back them or so on and so forth is a subject matter of investigation.
No, I'm giving you the example of Deep Sidhu.
Please allow me.
Last year, Deep Sidhu was a close confidant of Sunny Deol. Now he becomes a Khalistani.
I will answer that too. Rajdeep, you have to give me time, please. You have to give me time. So I don't understand how an IPS officer, he knows how investigations are done, today has decided it's just in the nascent stage that, aise kaise ekdam se yaad aa gaya. Well, maybe they have actually come across something. Exactly why? When Deep Sidhu gave an interview to a very famous woman journalist, he was actually very defensive of Bhindranwale. In fact, he seemed to invoke Bhindranwale as perhaps the idol behind these.
That doesn't make him a Khalistani.
Allow me. That's for the investigative agencies to find out what his link is. So why are you jumping the gun? I fail to understand. Perhaps they have come across with a link and that's why they have issued notices. And to say that you cannot be using electronic medium to issue notices, this is the first argument I've ever heard. Aisa to hota nahi hai. These things have been happening and they continue and they will perhaps happen in the future also in a digitized world. Now, thirdly, Deep Sidhu, not only did he actually, question is, who he supported in his personal capacity aside, that does not mean he's above the law. If there is any link that he happens to have with Bhindranwale, he will be rightly investigated. Why not? Because at this very site of Singhu border, they were distributing Bhindranwale, you can say, literature and books. And I have photographs of that also. That's in the news, in fact. In fact, also in the news, which Mr. Kumar actually did not argue is, whose word should I take? Should I take somebody who has been, who's a protectee of the Punjab government, Mr. Gursimran Singh Mann, should I take his word on face value, who happens to say that the farm protests have been infested by Khalistanis and Bhindranwale supporters, or should I take his argument on face value? He's not actually answered that.
Okay. Ajoy Kumar, at the end of the day, this is a preliminary investigation carried out by the NIA. It's not as if the NIA is accusing anyone at this stage of being Khalistani sympathizers. Are you saying that the NIA doesn't have the right to in any way question anyone associated with this movement simply because that, to your mind, is misuse of their political power?
Look, Rajiv ji, Nupur ji told me has said something very interesting about Gursimran Singh, who said something on the agitation. That their defense minister Rajnath Singh says that the Punjab farmers can never be labelled, the farmers cannot be anti-national, they cannot be Khalistanis. He's not said it once, he said it every day. So should I take Rajnath Singh's word or should I take the BJP spokesperson's word? Whose word do I believe? Rajnath Singh ji is saying every second day, that every day. So this is double speak against the nation. He's in the Cabinet Committee of Security. So enlighten me on that first. That is, should I believe the BJP spokesperson or should I believe the Honorable Defence Minister of India who keeps saying it? Second issue is, did Mr. Deep Singh Sindhu become a Bhinderwala after campaigning for Sunil Deol or before Sunil Deol? Because this is a whole, the whole thing is so absurd. I mean, I am absolutely, and with the limit, with my experience in the Indian Police Service and whatever the value, in terms of what I could gather during that wonderful period, I am saying there are 40 people given notices. Now these 40 people notices only do either the NIA is so lucky to get evidence against 40 people during the farmers' agitation, or they are so incompetent that they could only get it during the farmers' agitation. I'll complete, sir. I'll complete.
No, let her respond to your preliminary question, which is, I think, an important point, that the defense minister, Rajnath Singh, says farmers can never be associated with Khalistanis, and yet you've got people being picked up, you've got transporters being picked up in Punjab, you've got farmers also being picked up, all of whom are being questioned. So which is true?
Can I just, now I don't know which part of this debate did I say that all farmers are Khalistanis or any farmer is a Khalistani. Perhaps there is a comprehension problem and perhaps he's misunderstood what I said. I completely agree with our Honorable Defence Minister that, farmers, andatas of this country can never be Khalistanis. But is and I am asking a pointed question. Is the former IPS officer now saying that no, there have been no external elements of Khalistani supporters or Bhindranwale supporters infesting these very farm protests? Because please explain this to me. They've been like 45 people, someone, not 40. Please explain this to me. Are only 45 people by a head count sitting on the Singhu border? No. So if there are reports and if there are leaks and if there is something that is fishy about infestation, of course, hi Modi, mar ja tu, Sharjeel ko bhi riha karo, aur ye Umar Khalid ko bhi riha karo. All this has also happened. Bhindranwale literature has also been distributed, and extremely dangerous statements by people like Chaduni have also been made. So much so that he was ousted from the core committee of the Sanyukt Kisan Morcha and he had to backtrack. So much so there were reports of him hobnobbing with Congress politicians and perhaps some some kind of transaction happening, and he had to backtrack saying, no, I am not going to get involved with any politicians anymore. So please, Mr. Kumar, let's not forget it was the same Mr. Chaduni who, in spite of the observations of the Honorable Chief Justice's bench in the Supreme Court, saying that we don't want any bloodshed, we don't want any tractor rally, and also including that observation of senior advocate Mr. Dushyant Dave, in their order, after that Mr. Chaduni was the first person to come in the media and say, we are going to break police barricades, we are going to attack the police, and we will enter Delhi come what may.
Okay, let's leave it there. Let's leave it there. Clearly, at the moment, there are two parallel strands running, one negotiating with various farm unions, the other suggesting that these farmer protests have been infiltrated by so-called anti-national elements. And sooner or later, there will be a need to assure clarity, not based on sketchy evidence, but hard evidence. The NIA is supposed to be India's premier, one of India's premier investigating agencies. It's expected to work on hard evidence. That evidence at the moment needs to be put out in the public domain more clearly. Ajay Kumar and Nupur Sharma, I appreciate your joining me on my face-off this evening.
Hi everyone, Preeti Chaudhary here. Hope you like this video. For latest news and analysis, like and subscribe to the India Today YouTube channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated. Thank you for watching.